Mr. Evan Fisher, what's going on, man?
Going good, going great. Beautiful Sunday.
Oh
It's cold
yeah.
outside, but it feels good.
Yeah, you were actually telling me that you're about to go and record a video outside.
Yeah,
So
for
I guess
sure.
we'll keep this one short, to the point, so you could go ahead and drop some value on your channel. And for those who are watching, I'll put Evan's channel in the description so you guys can check him out. But so Evan, man, we've known each other. Well, I had so the beginning of 2021 is officially when we like I guess started talking, but then
Yeah.
you didn't buy TT until what was it, July, April? What was the date? You remember?
It was April.
April.
So I think
Okay.
we started talking like March, February, maybe 2021. And then we
Okay.
met it. That's when I bought TT in April.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, yeah, you were like very teachable and you like just jumped in. You were like, just give me the time, come up with the money, and boom, you
Mm-hmm.
just did it. Um, so do you want to tell, for those who don't know you, of like first where you from, how old are you and where you were
Mm-hmm.
born, and then you could jump into like where we met and how did we meet? Okay, is that
All right,
cool?
cool. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
So to go through the timeline, so I was born and raised Houston, Texas, graduated high school 2020. And then going throughout high school, my passion for my career at the time was I wanted to be a physical therapist. So that was a passion for around 3 years before then, like between high school. That's what I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So then as I went through college, I also realized like about second semester of my first year of university, that's when I noticed I was like, okay, but there's also more to life than what I'm actually seeing too. There's more to do. There's more things to experience. So I realized I didn't want just a job. I also wanted financial freedom, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to actually make a real change in the world. Because a lot of people will settle for their jobs and think, oh wait, oh, I'm making a difference. This is how I'm making a difference. Like you could be like driving Uber or doing DoorDash, and oh wait, I'm making a difference. I'm making it easier for people to get food or something. I'm like, okay, like whatever. But to move on from that, that's what I wanted to do. And I actually wanted to make a real change. So I was like, okay. That's when I went to this. For context, I was in this club, this group called Global Information Network. We call it GIN for short. So I started plugging into there more and started listening to the success audios, all the audios, the reading some of the books. And so in November of 2020, I went to this like Thanksgiving GIN get together event. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of people there. But even at that event, I was like super shy. I was super introverted. I didn't want to talk to anyone at all. I was just like sitting on the stairs on my phone until like someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, hey, what are you doing? Who are you?" Like, because
Yeah, I
I,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah. And this was Jessica Snyder, and I'll talk a little more about who her and her husband are in a second. So I met her. She told me about TT and everything. So I ended up hearing about this. I was like, what is this? I was like, can you tell me more? And I ended up getting on a call with Mitchell Snyder. So Mitchell and Jessica are two of our associates, two friends of ours who live in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also really great people to talk to and like get to know too. But I talked to them and I talked to Mitch and he told me all about TT and everything. And I didn't, and I'm not sure. And I think I was so onto back then I was so onto like the physical therapy track that I didn't even think to consider like, okay, nah, I don't even, I was like, I don't want to get it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I just
Yeah.
want to go through college and like get a job and everything. But then like next semester, I was like, okay, I actually started deplugging from school, like beginning of the first semester. I was like, oh man, this is boring. I don't want to do this. This is terrible. And that's when I ended up reaching back out to Mitch. And then he connected me to Mayor because Mayor lives in Houston and I live in Houston. So it kind of just really worked out. So then I started talking to Mayor. And little did I know, Mayor was always at the gym event too, but I just never was like present at the events. So I didn't know anyone who was there. So I didn't know
Yeah.
like Mayor, I didn't know Cameron, I didn't know I didn't know anybody who was there. But I
Yeah.
guess you guys saw me at least. I don't know.
Yeah, because what's
So,
funny is like, first of all, shout out to Mitchell. and just
Hmm.
shout out to the Snyders. But
Yeah.
what was funny is like I would go to so many of those local chapter meetings, which is like
Hmm.
smaller mastermind type of things. And Evan was always there, with his mom, because his mom is also a
Hmm.
part of the gym club. And he was like the shyest kid. Like I never even heard Evan like even say hi or like look up. Like he was just in himself. And so it's funny. And that was like for literally a few
Hmm.
months. So it's funny how like how shy you were and you didn't even know that we were at those meetings and
Exactly.
stuff, right? But yeah, you
It's
can
funny
carry
though.
on.
I think like the only way I would say hi, I would be like,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
even. I wouldn't even use
Yeah,
words.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, where was that? Okay, so we were at the. So yeah, I ended up Mitchell connecting me to Mayor in Houston. Then I came out to one of the self-perfected clubhouses. Shout out to the self-perfected clubhouse, self-perfected too.
Mm-hmm,
So I came out to the clubhouse and I ended up meeting Mayor. Also met Nick Siwerka,
mm-hmm.
and they started telling me about TechnoTutor, what it's done for them, and what it can, like what it does, and like how it works and everything. And I'm like, okay, what is this tool? I got to see this tool now. So and Mayor ends up fast forward a little bit. Mayor presents to me. So fast forward to April of 2021. That's when I
Mm-hmm.
got TechnoTutor.
Yeah.
So the thing that surprised me about TechnoTutor was how simple it was. That's the thing. That was something that was really interesting.
What do you
Like
mean by that?
so simple as in like it's not like easy, but like it's a process, and like you're still going through a process, but it's like really simple and kind of straightforward as the way you can use it, and like the support in using it is like really good. So it's not like you're like stressing about, okay, if I don't like get these results, like
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's still a process, but it's also like very, very simple, and like when you buy it, like it's very supportive. Like the tool and the support group is extremely supportive. So like
Yeah.
you can't not like you know unless
Yeah,
you're just
like the
fucking
example I
around. Yeah.
give, the example
Mm-hmm.
I give for like that point of it being simple is like imagine when you want to use your computer, it's like you just see a mouse cursor
Yeah.
and just some things, but in the back end there's like trillions lines of codes that
Mm-hmm.
like in the back is so much complicated, but at the front it's like you using it is so simple. You're like, oh, that's it. Technically, it's the same way. It's like so much science behind it, but when people use it, they're like, oh, it can't be just that. Like you got all these
Mm-hmm.
results just from this.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's a cool point. But yeah, so
And
let's
so
let's
yeah.
talk about for what did you want to add something to that?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like a lot of people like usually let the complexity or the simplicity of something like guide their judgment and making decisions. But like if something's like super complex, you really don't even understand it anyway. So it's like I don't know why you're trying to like make a
Yeah,
decision based on that anyways. Or if something's super simple, you don't know what's behind that. So it's like okay,
yeah,
so you actually kind of have to
exactly.
like see what it is. So
Yeah, we have our mentor like Avery. He says like if it's something's easy to do, it's also easy not to do. You see what I mean?
exactly,
So
exactly,
it's
yeah.
like the same thing. But so now let's fast forward to like now you got TT, and at the time, how old were you, and how old are you now? Are you still the same age?
So I was 18 years old when I got TT,
Okay,
and
now
now
you're
I
19.
19. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So you were 18 when you got it. And now let's talk about the process of how you went from like, oh, I want to do physical therapy, like,
Mm-hmm.
you were going to university and like, this is all I want to do to like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, there is something here to this tool and the community that we're building. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a part of that. And I remember you had this point of like, oh, like, I've never done sales. Like, I'm against sales. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if that's for me to like literally 1 month of you using the tool,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, Mayor, I want to do this. Like, I see
Yeah.
how simple, like how powerful this is. But so now share from your perspective of that process, what that was like for you.
Okay. So for me, and so I got TechnoTutor, and I still wanted to do physical therapy. I didn't even want to become a distributor back then, or like have anything to do with sales. I was like, I'll give you
Yeah.
guys some like, I'll give you guys some like pat on the back, applause or something for doing something. I don't want to like do it at all. So,
You're like, you guys got this.
mhm. But like it was kind of weird because like immediately I was seeing results with TechnoTutor. I was like processing more information. I was like more stable. I was like reading way faster, and it could like physically show in my life the way I was like approaching situations, talking to people, and I was definitely coming out of my shell for sure. Like moving from that introverted, don't talk to anyone or anything, to like actually looking people in the eye. That was a huge one. That was a huge like change for me, because like I always like whenever I was talking to people, I was like look around. I was like, it was
Yeah.
like I never wanted to look anyone in the eye. So like I was actually confident and certain within myself when talking to people. Like it was all these low self-esteem issues, and like these points of just not want to say anything. Like what I want them to come talk to me first. What are the like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have to like do that anymore. So back then I still wanted to be a physical therapist. This is right after I got TT. But then actually after seeing the support and the group and seeing and looking into why I wanted to become a physical therapist, it was like a bunch of like bullshit, like because this is the same thing as like wanting to help people. That's the like excuse you usually make for your your decisions.
Hmm.
It's like what we always say a lot too. People make decisions based on emotions, but will justify it with logic.
Yep.
So that was a really interesting point too. But I actually saw that this group was actually different from a lot of other groups. Like it wasn't your typical like sell you a course, we'll change the world while making you rich and everything. It was like it wasn't that. It was like it was actually a system and a plan laid out right in front of you to where you can actually take responsibility for yourselves, take responsibility for your life, stop letting just shit happen to you, and like you can actually make the change and start making the change like immediately.
Yeah, because there's courses also that are like, this
Yeah.
is really here to change something, but it's like they're just
Mm-hmm.
saying that just to sell more. It's like there's so many
Exactly.
people who buy it and then they just fall off, like they don't even go through the course or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But here it's
Yeah.
like we don't just have a course or whatever. It's like we have a
Mm-hmm.
tool and we have a support of a group, a community that you're like, oh shit, these people were just like me. They
Mm-hmm.
were
Exactly.
where I am now, and they are where I
Mm-hmm.
want to be. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
all we do is we tell you the steps we took to go from where you are to where we are, and you just take
Exactly.
those and it like works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly. Yeah. It was like it was crazy too because when I first bought technotutor, I was like, and then he's told me about everything else, like actually the systems, like what are the plans and everything. I was like, wait, what? It's more than just like you guys selling like education. I thought it was like I thought it was just education, which is
yeah,
still a huge part of it, but like there's more to it. There's like a way bigger system laid out, and actually more responsive. The more responsibility you can take, the better in your life, because that's how we'll actually start implementing systems and changing the world. But and that's what I saw within technotutor and the distributorship.
that's really cool. And like talking about taking more responsibility, like bigger system, all that, let's now talk about your relationship and how you went
Ooh.
from where you were to like how you took more responsibility within that, and what was that
Mm-hmm.
process of like you, because you use it to become emotionally stable. And then I was like, Evan, now look at your
Mm-hmm.
relationship, because if you don't get your partner on board, there's going to be
Mm-hmm.
too much distance where now you see all this stuff and she's still where she's at, and there's going to be
Yeah.
that conflict of you're like, come on, like how can you not see this? Because if your partner is
Mm-hmm.
not using the tools, then they're not going with you. So do you
Exactly.
want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and where you met Aaliyah and like
Mm-hmm.
that process a little bit?
Yeah. So I want to bring up that point of distance, and like as soon as I realized I wanted like more out of life, that's when I started like learning and like actually doing more, like looking at more. That's how I came into technotutor in the first place. So as I was using technotutor, like I was growing like at a rapid rate. Like I was no longer stagnant, but she was still in the same place, same state of thinking, everything. So I was just growing and growing and growing. So the distance between us started just multiplying and multiplying. Like it was insane.
Yeah.
Disagreements and things like that over like really like dumb stuff, like stuff that like you shouldn't really be arguing over, like how how you want to like raise your kids, stuff like things like that. Like that should be like in your agreements, right? Like when you're in a relationship. So fast forward to around September 2021. That's when I decided, okay, these are the principles that I'm gonna stick to. This is what I'm going to do. You're either with me or not, which is really like which was a milestone point in my life, because that's when I was actually certain within myself that I could stand in what I was taking on and the responsibility that I was taking on. Because I already knew that I'm gonna take on an astronomical amount of responsibility. So I already knew, okay, this isn't going to work.
And how long
So
did
it's
you
like,
guys know each other for? Because it's not like you
oh
knew
yeah,
each other for 3 months that you're like, oh, I'm doing this. Are you coming or no?
exactly, yeah.
Like, talk about how long have you guys known each other for? Like, how many years?
So we've known each other since 8th grade, so since middle school. So we've known each other since 2015.
Wow.
So we started dating in our senior year of high school, which was 2019 over to 2020. So before we like actually broke up, I was like, okay, this is like this is a 2-year relationship before I decided to make this decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you know, like, it it holds value. These principles hold value. These tools hold value. What we're doing has value. So I was like, okay, if this isn't working, this isn't best. This isn't best for you. This isn't best for me. It's not going to be best for what we're building. So I was like, okay, we need to break up, right? So that was a milestone point, because that was a 2-year relationship that I just ended over the principles that I've set for myself and the standards that I've held up for myself.
That's crazy.
So actually, and they actually created something like good out of it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we broke up, that's when she was like, okay, now I need to look at this, because he's certain within himself. And so if he's certain within himself, I need to actually look at what is he talking about? What are these tools? What is this group that he's a part of that's actually changing him so much to the point where he just left me? So
Yeah.
it was like, that's when, like, literally the next week, like, it happened so fast. Like, the next week, she like ended up getting the tools, joining the group, like actually started looking into what is technotutor, what is self-perfected, what are we actually doing.
Yeah.
And then that's when, as soon as like she started using the tools, that's when she even started seeing results with her in her family, like the way she communicated with her mom, which she'll probably go into more in like another video. She can go
Yeah.
into more.
I
So
will do
she
that with
started
her.
seeing, she was starting to see way more results too. So that's when we actually decided to create agreements and reform our relationship based on principles. But you see, that would have never happened if I was back at that old point of, like, low self-esteem, didn't even want to say anything, wasn't even going to be honest with the person, like if I didn't agree with something.
Yeah.
So if I was like at that point, that would have never happened. I would have just been miserable in this relationship. Like, it would have just screwed itself over and fell apart anyways.
Yeah, because like, isn't that how most relationships are? It's like you're in a relationship, feels good, and your partner is doing something that you're like, it's not best, or like, why, let's consider this, but then you are afraid of bringing it up because you're like, oh, what if they leave me, what if they react? But for you were like so certain that like you were like, I'm not gonna be afraid of like what my partner is gonna think, but rather I'm gonna show her this stuff, and if she's not gonna be on board, then we're gonna break up. And then what you did, which was a difficult thing, right? Because like that didn't come.
Like, I don't want to
like
make anyone think that like it was just like, all right, she's not doing it, fuck out of here. But I don't want anybody to think that. No, it was actually a difficult process. Like,
it took months.
Before and
it
after.
took him like over 4 months
months
to come to that point.
Exactly.
So just wanted to clarify that point. Like,
Yeah.
it took him 4 months, but then as soon as he broke up, I remember that same weekend at our clubhouse, Evan was telling me, hey, I want you to like talk to Aaliyah about technotutor and so forth. And I messaged Cameron or someone, and then he was like, oh, Aaliyah just bought TT today. And then Evan was like, wait, what? And so it's like all it took was like that breakup for Aaliyah to see, like you said, Evan, of like, what is this thing that Evan's involved with, that he's like the purpose is so great that he's like he was willing to end the 2-year relationship for that purpose, which now she got the tools, joined self-perfected and so forth, and now you guys have the same
Mhm.
purpose, and now you're going so strong. And I've seen people ask you like, how old are you? And you're like 19, and they're like
Yeah.
shocked of like, oh, I thought you were at least 25, like
Yeah.
just based on your maturity, like where you guys are at. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool, like of like how that's going. So where's your relationship now, would you say?
So our relationship is going great. We're like already looking to like start moving in and looking at apartments and everything. We think we've got it down like 3 options. So like in just such a short amount of time, like with the tools and everything, because the tools help you like actually accelerate what you think, what you can do, and what you think you can, like just take it like out of nowhere. So like
Yes.
you're able to take on more responsibilities and more tasks, and just knock it down like a wall, just knock down each wall brick after brick after brick. So like the relationship is aspect is like pretty amazing, and we're both in agreement. We know exactly what we're gonna do, and if something comes up that like we need to talk about, I don't have to like think about, oh, what if she doesn't like this? What if she starts like yelling at me or something like that? I'm not thinking that. I'm like thinking, okay, this is something that needs to be brought up so we can actually talk about it, and I don't have to like go into my mind thinking like, oh shit, oh she's gonna like yell at me, she's gonna like throw
Yeah,
something at
what if
me
it
or
doesn't
anything,
work
something like,
out? Yeah.
yeah, she's gonna like throw something at me. So like I can actually like go in honestly and like actually say what needs to be said, and then she can do the same to me. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and once again, like I couldn't have done that if I was still an introvert and had low self-esteem and didn't even want to like talk to people or look people in the eye. That never would have happened.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, that's cool, because like that point of having real principles, it's like you, bro, you grew up in going to church and everything, right?
Yeah, oh
So
yeah, yeah.
like the church you go to is what is it called,
It's
Lakewood
called
Church?
Lakewood Church. It's like the biggest church in I think the United States actually.
Yeah, or the
Yeah.
world, I don't even know at
Yeah,
this
it might
point.
be. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And the person who's running that Lakewood Church is like Joel Osteen, which
Yeah.
on YouTube, I think he has over 2 million subscribers or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he's
Yep.
like, what is he, the most famous or most followed pastor or
Probably.
something?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Probably.
right.
Yeah.
So like the church is like literally the where the Houston Rockets, the NBA team, used to play. It's like
Exactly.
$100 million stadium, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a church. So Evan grew up going to that church, and
Yeah.
in the church, I mean, they talk about some of the principles we have of like give as you
Mm-hmm.
want to receive and all that, right? Because like some of those
Yeah.
came from Jesus, but instead of people doing and applying those principles, they're like they
Mm-hmm.
just go to church to feel good. But we're like
Mm-hmm.
taking those principles and we're like, no, those are actually practical. Like, why is no one living it? And it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because in our group, like, would you say after you got TT, you actually for the first time even understood what those principles of like give as you want to receive, love your neighbor as yourself, like
Yes.
create a world that's best for
Exactly.
all?
Yeah, because back then, give as you want to receive. Like that would be like giving a homeless man like $5 or something. That's what give as you
Yeah,
want to receive was like usually perceived as by most people. Like giving like a homeless man some food or something like that. That's what it was perceived as. But give as you like to receive is actually taking more responsibility and like actually impacting others people's lives in a way that in a fundamental way.
yeah,
So actually giving people what is education. That's what it because that's what it all comes down to. So that's actually giving as you would like to receive.
yeah.
And it was like
E-
that, like breaking through that point was like, oh shit, oh wow. So that's what it actually looks like to give as you like to receive.
Yeah, it's
All right,
cool
go
that
ahead.
you bring up that example of like the homeless guy, like giving homeless guy
Mm-hmm.
$5, because it's like if you're that homeless guy,
Mm-hmm.
would you love someone to give you $5, or would you like someone to create a system where you don't have to be homeless and you could actually
Exactly.
have a life? So
Mm-hmm.
that's real, like giving as you want to receive, because it's like, do you really like another aspect of it is like, are you willing to put your shoes in any single person in this world right now?
Mm-hmm.
Which the
Yeah.
clear answer is no, because like so many people out there, like so many horrible stuff is gonna happen, is happening, that I don't know if I can even say it on this podcast, but or this interview, which is like
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I no, I don't want to trade my lives with any of these people. But we're
It
like,
shows how,
how
yeah.
exactly? But we're like,
Yeah.
how can we? Why not create a system where you could truly say like, I can change my life, or I switch my luck with this guy in India or like in Iran, or doesn't matter where the world it is, because you know like that person has their basic needs met, and they live in a world where now we could actually educate people for real, where they can become so much more creative, right? And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure by the time this video is posted, I have posted another video that's called How to Create a World That's Best for All, which I go more into it. And Evan's about to, after this call, create his own video of how to create a world that's best for all. So I suggest like go check him out, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to all of them. Because it's like, who else is talking about real shit like this? You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
And so, but yeah, so now to like wrap it up, it's like, what would you say to someone, right, who's like on the fence, or they're like, I don't even know if I should reach out to these people to like even hear what technotutor is, like should I put that 20 minutes of like, okay, what is this or whatever, right, like that time to connect, like what would you basically tell that person?
So what would I tell that person who's on the fence? What all I could really say is like it's understandable, to be honest. Like like for the first point of like being uncertain about what this is and like what it can do, and like the group, and like especially as the way we're programmed to be uncertain and like be super slow and make decisions, and like be uncertain and be hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
The way we're programmed, that's what we're programmed to think, and that's how we're programmed to think, and that's how why the things in our life we don't have. But actually, because actually just making the decision to be certain is what will take you way further than anything else. Because something also, one of my mentors say, and Kevin Trudell also says from Global Information Network. I think a lot of people say it too. A couple of people. It's the quote is just success is a decision away.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is all you have to do is make one decision and your life could change forever.
Well, I mean, well said. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, it was the same for me. It's like, for me, I got to that point where I was like super skeptic, because I was like, there's no way these stories that you guys are telling, like this change is real, or like,
Yeah,
I mean, now
exactly.
it's more, now it's like people can see it, because now we have hundreds of people, thousands of people all around the world who are doing it. Back when I got it like 3 years ago, it's like I saw a few people and I was like, is this working? Is this not? But it's like at some point I just had to like take that leap of faith and be like, because like I mean, I'm not religious, I haven't read the Bible or anything, but I heard, I think this was even from Joel Osteen, like it's which he was sharing something that Jesus said of like, you see it when you believe it, right? Not the other way around. It's not like you're like, oh, let me see it and then I'll believe it. It's like some
Yeah,
cases it's like, you like, no one showed Jeff Bezos like, here's how you're gonna build Amazon, and he was like, okay,
exactly.
bet, I'm doing it. He like had to first build it and then show people how it's done, right? So in this case, it's like, for you it was kind of like the same thing, but for you I feel like you had less resistance, because like you were also younger and didn't have as many experience as most people, like who get
Yeah.
scammed and all this stuff. So
hmm
for you, you just did it because it made
hmm
sense. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like I have been scammed, and like I have bought courses that like never worked. And it's like, for me, I was like, okay, if let's say the tool doesn't work, at least I'm getting access to these high level people who actually care about changing this world and like supporting
Exactly.
that. At least I'll get that, because that is worth like hundreds of millions of dollars that people
hmm
already are paying to be in country clubs. But in country clubs, it's like you already have to be at that level. It's not like they can take anyone and raise it there. But
Yeah,
for us,
exactly.
we could take anyone and raise it there, you see?
hmm Yep.
So
Like, yeah, this tool is the peak of self development. It really is. Like
it's like the
the most.
self-development of self-development.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's. I mean, what else can you really you like add to that?
It's like speechless. That
Yeah, you're like you
everything
can't really
perfect.
say anything else.
Yeah, no, but I appreciate it. Like, I mean, that's a good way to close it. It's
Mhm.
like, for us, we're looking for those people who are teachable anyway. And like,
Exactly. Yeah.
for you, like the person who's watching this, like if you're that person that you're like, I you know, maybe I'm comfortable where I am, or I'm not comfortable, and like you're like, it can't be just this in life. Like there should be something more to it, right? And like I see this group of people, like for us, for me, I never thought I'd be part of a group. I was always that person that was like isolated, and I was like, no, I'll just do everything on myself. But I'm telling you, like being part of a group who are like literally like your family. Like Christmas, I spend my time with my technotutor family instead of my actual
Yeah,
family. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And so
That's
it's
funny
like
because I
so,
actually have way more fun with the technotutor family than my
yeah,
actual
right,
family. It's funny.
yeah. And still, like after using TT, we even enjoy more time with our family because now we're
Exactly.
getting rid of more stuff. But our group, it's like we actually care about changing this world. We have real principles, and we have the tools that can take anyone to get there.
That's
So
funny because
if
that
you're, yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, that's funny because that point of friendship too. Because I mentioned earlier that I graduated in 2020, which is when like the pandemic started and everything. So I
Yeah,
was like, oh shit, there's nobody to talk to. Like I didn't like after high school, I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna have any friends. I don't know who to talk to. Like
yeah,
there's like no one talking to anyone. When everybody's like on their phones, like everything like that. It's
yeah.
like, fuck, I'm not gonna have any friends. Like, how am I gonna like meet people and everything? Like, my first year of college was online, so I'm like, bro.
Yeah. And how
Oh yeah,
many
but go ahead,
friends do you have now?
bro. Oh, I can't even count. I can't even.
It's like now your friends are worldwide and like local
Exactly.
and everything.
You
Yeah.
can
And
just
I
talk to
mean,
anyone. Yeah.
yeah. And we've taken even trips together. At the end of this month, we're taking another trip to go hang out with the Copes and like
Yeah.
do fun stuff. I'll probably make a vlog and I'll release that as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we pretty much summed it up. But obviously, that's like what you heard of Evan say. That's just like 1% or like
Mm,
3% of the whole story of like how much he's changed. So if you
exactly.
actually want to connect and learn more about his story, like I'll put the links to his Facebook. Where do you want people
Mhm.
to reach out? And I'll put those links. Where
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you want?
Facebook is perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put his Facebook and reach out to him, connect with him, and actually learn his story. And for me, if
Mhm.
you want to reach out, the information's in the description. But yeah, thank you, Evan, for being
All right.
here.
All right.
And I'll catch you soon, okay?
All right. See ya.
Yep. Thanks for everyone for watching. See you in the next one.